Hello, everybody. Hi, everyone watching Mata Art Gallery. I'm so excited to be here today for our interview with Palmarin. We're just going to give it a few moments while we wait for people to join. And welcome, everyone. I'm going to ask Palmarin to join here in just a moment. If you're seeing this, Palmarin, you can also request thank you. There we go. Happy Saturday, everyone. And who are not in Saturday zone like Palmarin, happy Sunday. Should be here in just a moment. All right. Hello. Hey, Palmarin. Happy Sunday for you.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
It's Halloween.
Exciting. Thank you, everyone who's tuning in today. You're bright. For me, it is 5:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. For you, can you tell
It's 9 a.m. Japan Standard Time.
9 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here we go.
Coffee.
Is my audio? My earbuds are giving me challenges today. So cool. I'm so excited for today.
Yeah. Look at everybody. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. Hi. I'm going to wind down for my afternoon. I'm definitely not having coffee for our coffee chat. You're enjoying coffee over there?
Yep. Got up early, went to go get some, and now I'm back.
Nice. Well, welcome back. So we'll get started here shortly. I think everyone's starting to tune in and really excited for just a chill artist talk and all of the fun things, and maybe your work, see a little of your studio.
Yeah, talk to you about what it's like living in Japan, being an artist.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and get started. For those of you who don't already know, my name is Vanessa Briones. My pronouns are she, her, and I was super fortunate and honored to be invited as the guest curator for Mata Art Gallery. Thanks to Nika, the founder, director, all of the things for this amazing space she's created for artists and curators like myself. The show that I curated is called While We Are Here. You can check it out on the website is the best way to view it at mataartgallery.org, or you can check it out through different posts on Instagram, on your mobile, whatever is most convenient for you. If today we're going to be interviewing one of the wonderful artists that I was fortunate to meet in my program at PNCA. So many different great experiences you have as an artist, but today we're reading with Palmarin Miguez. And before we begin, I want to just recognize that I'm streaming from Sacramento, California, here in Northern California, and we are in the ancestral homelands of the Nisenan, Maidu, Miwok, and Mewik peoples, who are the indigenous peoples of this land. So wanting to acknowledge that before we get started. Nika, the founder and director of Mata Art Gallery, is tuning in today, and she's going to be moderating our comments and our questions below. So if anyone joining has something they want to add to the conversation, or if there's a specific question you want, please feel free to go ahead and leave a comment, and we will do our best to save time for it at the end. If we both can be kind of chatty, you and I. So if we run out of time, because, we do have that hour time limit, we'll make sure to follow up with you individually if we do miss out on a chance to answer your questions. Without further ado, Palmarin, tell us where you're streaming from and a little bit of that exciting story of you getting there.
Yeah, so I am streaming from Minato-ku in Tokyo, Japan. It's Sunday, October 31st. Happy Halloween, everybody. And we moved here in January 2020, right before COVID. So, I finished up my term at Pacific Northwest College of Art, where I was teaching in the printmaking department. And then we moved here. That was a crazy, crazy move. That was really hard. Anyway, so we moved here, and it was really difficult because things were closed mostly, and we couldn't, like in March, we had to just stay in our apartments basically, but the lockdown here hasn't been as bad, I think, as in Japan. And with people getting more people getting vaccinated. Things are opening up a little bit. I've noticed that it's a bit more crowded in the subways and the trains, and yeah, there's more people out and about. So it's good. It's been good. And what did you say? What
I
was
asked
your other thing?
where you're streaming from, what brought you to Japan.
Oh, so Matt, my husband and I, we met in Yokohama 25 years ago, and it's always been in the back of his mind for sure, and my mind too, to come back and live in Japan. And we were able to make it happen in 2020. So that's why we're here. And so, but living in Tokyo is a new experience. Like in Yokohama, we, I mean, we were broke artists, we were like in our 20s. And so
Yeah.
we mostly traveled outside of Japan because it was a lot less expensive, like, Singapore, Vietnam, um, Bali, all those different places, and Philippines. But now because we're older, and Matt has a really great job, we have more opportunity to travel within Japan. It's still expensive, but like it's so cool to explore all of the different places. Like we were in Hokkaido for a month, traveling around, working remotely, and I mean we've been to like Aomori, just so many places. It's been great. And we're going to go to Hiroshima on the 20th. And yeah,
That's amazing.
it's so cool. So if you guys come and visit, hopefully if I'm here, I'll show you around Tokyo.
That would be amazing. And so for those of people who don't know who are watching, can you tell us a little bit about that trajectory of where you were, what kind of work you were doing as an artist before coming to Japan, and then what is it that is
Okay,
driving?
whoa, wait. That's too many questions. Hold on. Let's start with the,
Where were you
because
before?
I'll forget what you said. So, so before, let's see, I got my graduate degree in printmaking at the San Francisco Art Institute. So we had moved from Japan, and then I went to grad school. And so San Francisco is very, it's a city, so it's like angular and very graphic, and so the work represented that I was
I didn't
making.
know that's where you were living. That's where I'm hoping to live soon.
It was great. I enjoyed. We lived in Oakland, but I commuted every day. Um, yeah, I commuted every day, an hour and a half both ways.
Driving.
Wow. Yeah, driving. I drove a stick shift. It
That's a
was,
lot of.
wow. It's a lot of shifting, baby, let me tell you. Yeah, so the work was very angular, really graphic. And then we moved to Oregon, to Sherwood. And I mean, it's not rural, it's a small town, but like I didn't have access to a litho press, and so,
Mm.
it's like I don't know what I'm gonna do. I just started, I looked up printmaking studios and places to work, and I found the Multnomah Art Center
Oh
in
yeah.
Multnomah Village, and I met Nicole Rollins, who is the what is her? She's in charge of the visual arts programs, and they didn't have a screen printing thing, and I was like, oh, you could totally do screen printing here. So I proposed it, and that's how they started that program there. But I did mostly, it was more like, sort of like drawing and painting and like animals and green stuff. And so, yeah, the work changed that way, as a transplant, which was the first series, California Transplant. Um, just, getting used to a new place, I mean, it's still the United States, but it was different,
I
they're
mean,
different in Oregon.
Portland is so different. By the way, it seems like you have a student from MAC tuned in right now, so that's exciting. I know that makes a lot of sense because San Francisco is these high, like a concrete jungle, and I know
Hmm.
I didn't visit Portland for the first time until my 20s in California, and I was like, this isn't a city, this is a forest. Like I don't,
Ooh, so harsh. it's
and
it's beautiful though. It's
so, but
really.
it's so beautiful, so much greenery, and I can see how your environment shape the type of work you're making.
Oh,
Now,
absolutely.
you describe like that difference, then you said working with a litho press in San Francisco and then switching to screen making.
Screen printing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, so I mean, and I didn't even have a studio. I had a little room, and I just screen printed on the carpet.
Oh, whoa.
I just have a little, I'm like standing on top of it or kneeling or whatever, and just like, making all kinds of prints. So if you go on my website, that series, California Transplant, is about that move. And
Mhm.
then again, when we moved to Beaverton, which isn't that far, but it's closer to, downtown Portland. And it's like Nike, it's where Nike is headquartered, and Matt worked there for a little bit. When we moved again, I did another series relating to that move, which was Royal Woodlands Dreaming, and that's mostly just painting. There was no screen printing involved. It was just acrylic and gouache. Yeah, so yeah, for sure, the environment and accessibility to the studio, facilities. Because, printmaking has gigantic, it's got big, heavy equipment. You need space, and it's more of a cooperative community sort of situation, so it was very different. And I'm, working at PNCA for over, is it 15 years? What? It's definitely more than 11. And having access to their amazing space, I was totally spoiled, and I really miss working at PNCA. Hi, PNCA people, if you're out there.
Shout out. Yeah, that
Yeah.
studio you had so much access to. And one thing I really appreciate you bringing up right now is how much the context of what we're working in, not just in the visual aspects, type of like color and shapes and geometry that you're looking at, is influence in one city is different than in a city like Portland, but then also the vehicle you're doing it, whether it's, when you have all these huge pieces of equipment, you can take time, you can plan it out, you can have all these um, intricate aspects of it, and then shifting to screen printing when you were in that in between space, and like not really like I took a screen printing class from you, my one print making class, but
Oh, oh, wait, was that the one that you hardly came to? That's right.
oh, don't tell me that part. The one I was about to get it. I
You
got
were
like
busy.
out of
You
it.
were busy. It's
I
fine.
was.
I can show you later.
Yeah, but the one takeaway I had is like you need a screen, and like you said, you could print it on your car or where you were. Like it was very
Yeah.
mobile.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and the thing about like being and moving like to a different place, I mean, as artists, I feel like our number one superpower is our resourcefulness. And like, yeah, you can't do things in exactly the same way that you used to do them.
mhm.
But you can, like, how can you, what can you make work for you where you are at? And so like I was like, well, I can't do indirect screen printing, which is, using emulsion and an exposure unit and all of that awesome equipment, but I can do direct draw. So
Mm,
I can use, a material to draw on my screen, and I don't need any equipment. I just have to wash things out. It's just a different way. You gotta, if you want to do it, you can make it happen, right?
yeah.
So I think that's our like number one resourcefulness. It's like, and if you have a small space, which I have, my desk that I work in and make these little stamps, it's about the size of a 22 by 30-inch piece of printmaking paper. It's
Wow.
tiny.
That's super small.
And so, I make like small work, but you can make a ton of it. So I
I mean,
think we need to, yeah, it's
that
you
leads me into
can,
the question about like, I mean, you had all this space in PNCA. You basically had full reign over the whole entire print department
oh
at a
man, I miss that place so much.
yeah. And now you're in a new place in a new town, and I was really excited to see how that influenced your work. And you had this, you called it your go Kobo, like a studio
Hmm.
on. Oh, can you tell us a little bit about how this move to a new state in the midst of, there you go, in the midst of a global pandemic where you had limited access, how did that affect your work in both your process and what you were making in content too?
Well, I
Or,
mean, I knew that when we moved, I would be like, it would be much smaller.
yeah.
I would have to find places to work. And those places, I mean, if you can't speak Japanese, it's really hard. It's really hard.
Okay, so they don't.
Um,
English isn't. I know for me visiting Philippines, like at a lot of places, they were like, "Oh, I still at least can speak some English."
yeah.
So it's not disappointing.
No, it's I mean, I don't it could be cultural, but they are less hesitant to speak English, and sometimes it's just so, I don't want to say scary, but they just don't want to try because it could be culturally that they are less, they don't want to make mistakes,
Yeah,
whereas I'm like, okay, my Japanese is completely messed up. I'm just gonna try and use the simple words, but like, yeah, it's a lot harder to get into those places, so you really have to make an effort.
yeah,
And so there are places, they're an hour away by the train line, at least. Uh, yeah. And yeah, it's just harder. So through Best Living Japan, yay, Best Living Japan, I met Lauren Kawasaki. I think I had wanted to take a kintsugi class from them,
hmm
and so she has a great. It's kind of like a mini Multnomah Art Center, but she does it all on her own basically, and she has all sorts of classes, and so that was how, that is one way as a tourist or traveler or foreigner you can gain access to Japanese culture. um, yeah, but like so okay, so I wanted to study ceramics, and I knew it would be difficult, but like we went to the ward office. I asked somebody there, Matt was with me, about like doing some ceramics, which is toge in Japanese.
hmm
And there's a thing in Japan called the lifelong learning centers, and they have them all over in all the different wards, and they do like singing, music lessons, shodo. They do all kinds of different things. They're for retirees, and it's awesome. And there's one group who they were like, okay, she can join, and I was like, I'm not like retired, but can I just come and make stuff? And so the Toge 11 Ceramics Club, I go every Thursday, and so that's where I started. Like, it's not Japanese ceramics, but like, I make all these strange little. I have so many of them now. I don't even know where I put them.
yeah.
They're just all over. They're just all over the apartment and hanging out in different places, and yeah. And so then I make these like weird little plates.
Nice.
Um, I made this like book holder thing.
Oh, is there something?
There's a
Okay.
there's a book in there,
Oh, yeah.
and I wanted to protect it and keep it safe, and so then I made this little book holder. It just says Irma Boom book.
That's great.
Yeah.
Better
So
build.
yeah, you just have to be really persistent, I think, and just keep trying. But it's great living in Tokyo because there's so many galleries, and yeah, it's fun exploring.
Yeah, I love that you've been exploring. Can you tell us a little bit about that process? Like what we've showed in the was um, the the final prints, but what was that process? How did you come up with those patterns? What materials were you using? What was your
Right.
inspiration?
So oh, honestly, I was a little bit, I mean, I know I'd lived here before, but I was a little bit not shy or scared, just hesitant to go out because I was like, oh, my Japanese is so rusty. I have to talk to people. Um, so I was, it was kind of good that actually it was COVID and they didn't have to go out that much. But like, you sort of gain your confidence back, and I went for walks, and I just started because I'm really, as visual artists and visual people, we just look around at stuff, and so anything can be really interesting. So I just started taking pictures of things that caught my eye. And during the different walks, it's different things. Sometimes I'm looking up, sometimes I'm looking down. So they are photos from my iPhone. And then I come back from the walk, I look through and find a picture that I'm like, oh, that might be an interesting stamp. So then I carve the stamp. I have so many. This is the one that I used in the video. right? It's the mushroom that's in the
Uh,
tree. What'd you
and
say?
what material is it you're carving out of?
Oh, it's this.
Mono erasers.
They're erasers. And then I carve them, and then I I make patterns with them. I play around because just because you have one little stamp, you can make so many different things, right?
Yeah.
There's so many different possibilities. And then so I just have a collection of them. I have this whole folder of different prints that I've been making, and I do it almost every day.
Okay. So it's kind
Yeah,
of really
yeah,
practice to
yeah.
get out, make
hmm
turning into stamp. What how did you end up making the stamps out of the monotype erasers? Is that a common thing with printmaking? Was it what
They
you
do this.
found?
It's something that they do in the schools. When I was working here in the junior high schools, it was just something that they did, like as part of maybe an art lesson or something. It's called keshigomu. That's what they call an eraser. That's the Japanese word for it.
I remember
Um,
Japanese in high school, and that sounds familiar.
yeah, it just means eraser, and it's a relief print, right? Because you're printing the surface of it. So, um, yeah, that's how I started. I was like, oh, I got a space. I can, use a little X-Acto knife. I'm good to go. I can make a print.
Yeah,
I
and you
can make a
can,
ton of prints.
yeah. Do you do anything with the stamps when you're done? Reuse all sides? What do
Yeah,
you?
I use well, two sides because the other, the short way is kind of narrow, but I use all sides, and I'm gonna keep them and then just keep making them. And then see what happens. I kind of want to make maybe a little book. Actually, not little. I want to make a book like this. See this book? See how fat it
Wow,
is?
yep,
I
that's very on the thickness of.
I totally want to make a fat little book of all the stamps and images. So I'm like, meeting all kinds of people like every day, all the time. And I feel like eventually one of those people will be able to say, "Oh, hey, I know somebody who publishes books." Because in Japan, they publish so many books, like from zines to, you know, to bigger publications. They do so many small runs. So I feel like it's gonna happen. It could totally happen.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It's such a medium that you can distribute um, easily, which kind of makes me think of one of the other questions I had for you is you're from talking about everything from San Francisco to Portland to Japan, that
yeah.
travel, movement, place all seem to be common themes in your work. How do you see those relating? Is there other themes that you see that thread throughout your work?
Um, I think it's not just like a me thing. I think it's just a like a people human thing.
Yeah,
We go somewhere and we want to make sense of where we are now and try to find how we belong in it. Um, so there's two things about traveling and moving. One is like going to a
mm,
new place, and then one is like, you know, going as a traveler, as a visitor, which is sort of exciting and new, and like you kind of wakes up your creative senses. And then there's the other one where you're trying to just put down roots and
right.
build a home and like belong in a place. And I think being in an artist, you are always in the middle of that. Like
Mm,
you are always like there's always those things going and coming, so you're always in the middle. It's like also being, I mean, being a child of immigrants from the Philippines. I think that is like I think I've always inhabited that space.
yeah,
You know, the the Filipino culture and then the American culture. And so like taking that in and sort of like understanding it in different ways through different processes, techniques like drawing, painting, printmaking, collage. Like I wanted to study Japanese, and it's really hard.
Yeah. It's,
It's really hard, you guys. When I just want to make stuff. Anyway, so like this is I call them kanji collage. And what
oh,
I do is I take all of these, I have a collection of it. I have a collection of this box here
hmm.
filled with all kinds of just junk mail. It's junk mail, honestly. You know,
Yeah.
like come live in this apartment building that's like $1 million or whatever, and order this food with Uber. You know, just those kinds of words. And so I cut them up. It's using found poetry. It's a Dada thing,
Hmm.
and you. So I cut up the collage, and then in the order that I um, glue them down, I make the poem. So then first I sort of like sometimes the camera doesn't and Google Translate is it's shit. You're like, what? Anyway, so sometimes I have to like write it because it can't recognize it. So I'm basically drawing the kanji because I don't really know the stroke order or how to write it. And then
Yeah.
I find out the meaning and then I translate it into English. And then, there's a couple of English words, right? And kanji is comprised of different radicals or components. And so each component has a different meaning. So then you're like, first you have the big kanji and then you have the components and then you have all of these different words and then I make the poem from the words and I might like change it to a synonym just to make it maybe flow better. um yeah, so I have a bunch of those that I'm working on, and that actually takes a long time because you're like looking on your phone and you're like, oh, that's not exactly right, and then when you go back into Google Translate you're like, no, that's not the exact meaning, and it's so
Yeah.
hard to know, is that the right word? And then you just gotta, you just go with it. So I have a bunch of those also.
That's such a really fascinating process. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, for when you're talking about it, there's so many things that come to mind, but that idea of translation, like,
Hmm.
and it's just to like desire it to be perfectly translated, because when you go from languages, there's different nuances, there's different orders of saying things, there's different cultural implications, there's slang, and then to each way you're translating it, something is like lost, but then something else is kind of gained, and it's this like transformational process. And I love that it's also like parallels your other practice too, to see something out in the world, and then when you um, freeze a moment with a camera, and now you've just changed that, and then you take that and you turn it into the stamp, and then you take that and you turn it into a pattern. And I love this idea of transformation, and kind of bringing back to what you said is being a child of immigrant parents from the Philippines, that each generation were a translation or a transformation of the
Mm.
generation before us, and things change, they evolve, they adapt. There's things we're trying to hold on to that continue throughout, and things that are completely different. And I just imagine if I was someone who read an iteration of your poem, and maybe I did know kanji, which by the way, I took 4 years of Japanese. I never got kanji. Like, I'm like I u e o, like basic hiragana, but that's about it. But that
It's so hard.
even your process is complex, and you're making these like found poetries and
Yeah.
borrowing Hara
Yeah,
movement.
but the thing with Japanese that I really like is that when you hear the word, right? There's many kanjis for the same sound. So the sort of humor and wordplay that's
Mm-hmm.
available because you can hear a word, like, okay, for example, this is they call this like dad jokes, grandpa jokes, because they're kind of dumb, but I love them anyway. For example, there's I have a friend, her name is Naho. I don't know if she's listening, but her name is Naho, and she was named after a flower which is called the nanohana, right?
Mm-hmm.
So uh nani, the kanji for nani is anyway, I can't write it, I can recognize it. It means like, what, or like, what is this thing? So that's what nani or nano means.
Yeah.
And then, hana is flower. But that's her name is Nanohana, which is a kind of flower, but it could also be Nanohana, So just the different emphasis, right? Nanohana is the thing, and nanohana is what is this flower? And it's like she's like, okay, Grandpa, I've never heard that before. And I'm like, it's hilarious. So so that sort of like, I mean, it's only it could be just only hilarious to me, but those sorts of things I like listen for, um, and use in when I'm like also translating the kanji collage found poetry that I
Yeah.
write.
I like how you make it playful and that you're using language and written form into collage form and making kind of your own full characters language in a sense. I didn't realize even that Google Translate how that worked with kanji. Are you taking photos of it? Are you writing it
No, so you can do
down?
Google Translate and it will like recognize the kanji usually, um, and then it'll sometimes flash different words, if it's
Mm-hmm.
not sure which context it's in. Because if you just do one kanji, it could be any meaning, any number of meaning. Um, and then you can scan it in and get a more sort of accurate read on it. And then I take it into a different dictionary that has more definitions than what Google Translate will give me. Yeah, and it'll also tell me the like how to pronounce it because I can't read it and I can read the hiragana, but like sometimes I'm like, how do you read that word? So, it's good to use a different app
Yeah,
um to translate. But good, it's pretty handy, honestly.
yeah. And I love how Pamela made a comment down here that I was thinking too. She says, so Filipino to be into wordplay too. And
Yes.
and to take like
Yes.
your own culture, have fun with the wordplay in the current space you're in now. Even think of San Francisco artist Mike Garcia does his Manila ship to Manila or something. I'm totally
Yeah, that's right.
makes the whole
Oh,
Manila envelopes, and so like
yeah.
playing off of like what the different words can mean and playing with language and being curious and learning about a culture and having fun with it at the same time is really
Yeah,
something
and
I like playfulness I see in your work that's um, just carried throughout in
yeah,
different
so
ways.
yeah, in the Manila to PDX series, which is the last body of work I did before
Yeah.
coming here to Tokyo, I used Manila folders to I used them as cutouts and I would draw on them and take Ilocano words, not Tagalog, because I can speak some Ilocano and I understand that better than Tagalog.
Mm-hmm.
And so taking Ilocano words and playing with them and playing with them as physical objects, like the structure of the letter and creating repeating patterns with them. Um, so, hopefully I can do something like that here. I have a couple other projects, hopefully using this. I, it's like a bunch of things I've collected,
Mm-hmm.
and it's based off of these other publications. One is called SNS, which stands for, is it SMS? Shit Must Stop. That's the name of it. Shit Must Stop. You can
Okay.
go check it out at the Reed College libraries. And then this, so like I want to make sort of like publications like that, and like like this one. This one's inspiring to me. This publication, which they don't print any more magazines, but they had like poetry and like inserts and different photography, drawings. It's great. So I want to make something like this just because I love these so much. I love the to me it's very playful, like they put things together in different ways. It's very Fluxus
Mm.
and um yeah, very Fluxus and mail art, and that's kind of what I'm like, all of these things that I'm doing now, like the stamps and playing with text and ceramics. uh, I think it's gonna come into or turn into a project like something like the Fluxus water yam series, or like Yoko Ono did a box, and it'll be something like that. But I'm still playing now, so it's all like swirling around in there.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing us the beginning iterations of the next phase of your project, this idea of it distributing in the world. And you're so collaborative with things. I was so honored to be a part of one of your shows in Portland.
Right.
Your show, you had a bunch of us artists create zines and objects and have it in a vending machine. And so this idea of this like distribution art that you're collaborating with multiple people.
So speaking of, this is the one that I'm going to be doing for Mata Gallery. You guys will all get a sticker,
Ooh,
and then this is a mock-up, so it's not finished. But
fire.
then there will be, can you see
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, no.
So there will be, oh,
Oh, wow.
so there will be, let's see, hold on. So this is like there will be an image of the photo, and then, oh, here, this is a better one. There will be is it upside down? Photo, and then the stamp, and then like a little text about the thing or this wherever I was and what inspired me to make it. And so this is what the artist will get. It'll
Oh,
be in a
wow.
slightly more organized form, but something like that.
That's amazing. So generous.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make a bunch and then ship it all to you.
Oh man. Yeah, that's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. That's really great. One project we may do, but maybe it could be cool to talk about here is that your idea behind object art exchanges that with artists.
Mm-hmm.
What is that, and what's kind of an inspiration behind that idea? Whether we do it, hopefully now, we all got a little busy, but
Yeah. It'll happen. I just like making stuff, and so the other thing about like transformation in Japan, there's a saying, and I'm sure it's a lot more popular now. It's called mottainai, which means like literally it's what a waste or what a shame to throw this thing away that's a little bit broken now. So instead of like just discarding something, they will repair it. So, like
that's beautiful.
kintsugi is repairing something with gold. And many actually, this is a thing that I think is a bit more popular with foreigners because I've asked a couple of Japanese and they're like, what is that? I don't
Yeah,
know what it is. So I just like making stuff. And these are like this, except for the paper, it's all recycled, like, material that I
yeah.
would normally recycle. Like this is the inside of a like a frozen fruit bag, you
Oh
know?
yeah,
And then the stiff part is like like a tea box container or whatever. Just and then I made it into a little book structure. So I try to, reuse things because in Japan it's like in the States you're aware of plastic and you recycle it, but and they do that here in Japan, but it's a little bit different. Like every fruit will come individually wrapped
yeah.
in plastic.
Wow.
Why? Um, yeah, so, like, oh, how can I use this? And yeah,
Yeah,
anyway,
like you said in the beginning, the thing that is, I can't remember how you said it. You said it so well. That makes artists really useful in the world is how resourceful we are,
uh-huh,
and
absolutely.
be so directly conscious of our materials around us, not just
Mm-hmm.
what we at to inform what we make, but how what we have around us can be used to make something into
Yeah,
art. The fact that
yeah,
there even words, again, this goes back to that thing where language is such a reflection of culture, that there is a word to describe
absolutely.
pairing something with gold in
Mm-hmm.
Japanese. Like there's not even a word you could directly translate in English, and showing like what we value, what we think about, what there. It's just so interesting. Like I always remember this one word I learned in Japanese that I can't remember now, but watching a Netflix documentary on food, and this chef down in LA starts a restaurant, and she says, I did it out of, and the word was, I don't remember what it was, but the meaning was to show you I can do it, to prove to you I can. And like the fact that there's even a word for that concept. And so
Uh-huh.
that idea of taking something and reusing it, and then like even with your go kobo, like making up words that mean something that, you know, you
Oh,
can.
right. So this thing,
Yeah, tell us
right?
about it.
So
Yeah.
go-go means okay, well the way I use it means PM, like evening, right? Nighttime or
Yeah.
afternoon, the designation for time. And PM are my initials. And I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, go-go. And kobo means like atelier or studio or like a
Yeah.
workshop or workspace. So I was like, yes, go Kobo. That's what's happening. Woo!
Well, people should definitely follow that then on your Insta.
Yeah.
We have a question from the audience I wanted to make sure to get to, because it's been so fun talking to you and time is flying by. But one question from Fist of Manila, May Pamela, asked, what do they say when they see your creation? So if you want to write in the comments, if you had a particular they you were referencing, but I can translate that and think of like, what do people say when they see your work? Have you shown your work? Have you had any responses
Oh,
by it?
I think I'm not sure what they would say. Probably they might say, "Oh, that's interesting," or "Aren't you a strange foreigner?" I have no idea because I haven't really. I mean, I've shown it to the sort of Instagram community. Um, but like in a situation where you're with other artists, I haven't like ever brought it up and said, "Hey, what do you think of this?"
Mm,
And because it's still kind of, I'm still working on it and I'm still fleshing it out.
yeah,
Like if I were to ask, it's not that time yet, right? I'm not yet ready to bring it out like for a critique. Do you know what I mean? So, because I still don't know exactly what's happening, I'm just making a bunch of things, right? And we'll see what happens later. But I'm getting closer to that point where I'm like, okay, I think I want to show this to people, like some artist friends, like Unica or whoever, and say, well, what do you think about this? You know, or what do
yeah,
you think about this idea? Like, I
yeah,
haven't even gotten to like the artist statement part. I'm still like making things. You know what I mean?
yeah. You're in the
Yeah.
iterative, and it sounds like the specifically was the question was regarding your pottery, but also in general. So yeah, but that also is something you're newly working on, right? Your the pottery and the clay.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like doing different things.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to write down the glaze that you use. You're supposed to write down the clay, the kind of glaze you use, which glaze went over which one, because it does different things. And like if you use ceramic glazes, you know that like a white glaze can look black. It can be black, which
Mm-hmm.
totally messes. I'm like, okay, so then you see this thing, it's black, and then it gets fired, and it's like white, and you're like, what the hell? So I'm like, I don't understand. So I just paint it, and then I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens. I don't know. And because the kanji on the glazing buckets, I can recognize white, I can recognize the kanji for black, but all the other ones, I can't remember because we only glaze like every 3 or 4 months. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. Is this matte? Is it clear? Is it shiny? Which one is it? And so I don't know. It's a mystery. It's magic. Every time it's magic.
Yeah. Surprise, a spontaneity, and I see that in a lot of your work in general.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a wonderful honor to get to like talk to you today, and it's so wild the technology allows us to speak on different days. It's
Yes. I
hard to,
know.
you're so far away, but so close at the same time, and I can't wait for our paths to cross again in this. This has just been so lovely. Yeah, exploration through play.
Totally. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. She
And
knows me.
yep.
Every time
So we all
she knows me so well.
here in the States and are so excited for all your travels and see where this goes. And everyone, you should follow Palmarin's Instagram, see in the Insta handles just to see where your work goes next. And when you're ready for that um, statement and display of where all of this is going, we'll be really excited to see it. Next week, I will be back here. I think it's next week. I'm not sure on the calendar. Nika will let you know, but look at the Instagram. Next, the last thing part of this show will be to talk about everyone as a group and seeing how everyone's work came together. If you, I miss you all too. If
Miss you. Yeah.
Nika dedicates so much of her time and
Thank you, Nika.
generosity to this project and has given artists like us such a wonderful platform. We're so grateful to have. There's
Yes.
donation
Yay.
bio, so every little bit counts. We all support each other here and in all different ways. So any last closing thoughts, Palmarin? Anything else we didn't cover today that you want to touch?
No, I mean, if if anybody in the interwebs or Instagram, whatever, has questions, you can always message me and stuff. If you have some questions. But yeah, that's
Awesome.
all. No, it was great. Thank you, Nika. Thank you, Vanessa. So
Thank
great.
you, Lauren. Thank you, Nika. Everyone have a happy rest of your weekend and holiday. And it's just been
Yeah.
so this. Anyone, if you have any, I'm buying your bird poop.
Right. Got it.
That was one of the best ones. But yeah, if anyone has any, like Nika said, we have 10 minutes left. If anyone wants to drop any more questions, we're happy to answer them. But we're so happy that we got to talk so many fun
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. I know. I'm just gonna keep making weird little creatures and putting together my ideas for maybe not one publication, maybe a couple. I don't know. Maybe start a subscription, where you sign up and I send you something.
That's a great.
Yeah. Uh, so we'll see. I need to work on my website. Anybody wants to help me work on my website, please DM me.
There you go.
I need help.
I know it can be like the boxes you get in the mail if you order send me veggies or imperfect produce and you're just like, I don't know what I'm gonna get, but I'm gonna do
Yeah,
something.
exactly. It's a surprise. Mail art. Woohoo. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, and if anyone has questions too, as we wrap up here, if you just needed some time to think and what do you have for a website? Nika asked. What do you have a platform at all you're using or any direction or open to anything?
Yeah, it's just I use Squarespace. It's palmarinmerges.com. So it needs help. Somebody help me, please.
Make your little subscription on there.
Okay,
Great.
I know, right? Okay.
Yeah, Squarespace is very user friendly. So a lot of things
Is
you
it
can.
though? Is it though?
I let mine expire, so don't even bother going to my website because I figure out how to back up to my domain. So
See, Squarespace, you could be easier. Are you listening? Yeah.
wonderful rest of
Oh my
your.
God, tomorrow's Monday. I'm gonna start work again.
I know. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Everyone, so much for being in. Have a great one. Bye.
じゃあね。また。さよなら。
Sayonara.